Welcome to AK Anime Explainer. Today is explanation of Soul Land 3, Legend of the Dragon King Part 176. Without any delay, start explanation. According to the Spirit Pagoda's ancient records, there was an important event that took place in the divine realm which invoked the dragon god. The event almost destroyed the entire divine realm. The so-called godhood is actually a sublimation after one's life force has achieved a certain level. In fact, the definition of God in the beginning originated from this definition of mankind. Thus, the apex of existence, for humans from the planets, formed the divine realm. They also founded a series of hierarchical systems in the divine realm. Anyone who had cultivated to that level, be it a human or a beast, could ascend to the divine realm as long as one could overcome the final hurdle. Moreover, one would be assigned to different ranks according to one's potential and strengths. Legend has it that there were 5 great god kings in the divine realm. They formed the council of the divine realm and were the rulers whereby they supervised the world under them. Because the divine realm was created by these high-ranked humans, these godhood humans regarded themselves superior over the rest. In the beginning, everything was fine. With the passing of time, an ideology that the beasts were supposed to serve the humans took hold. What followed was the godhood humans naturally prevailed over the godhood beasts, and the humans ended up enslaving the beasts. The godhood humans were more powerful. They controlled the hub of the divine realm with the 5 god kings. Their powers far exceeded the godhood beasts, so the godhood beasts had to endure the abuse. One day, a godhood beast encountered an unjust treatment where it was being hunted down. Upon learning of the mistreatment of one of their own, the divine beasts were infuriated. The 5 great god kings dealt with the divine officer who mistreated the godhood beast, but they could not pacify the wrath of the divine beasts. Out of rage, the dragon god proposed to lead the divine beasts into leaving the divine realm and establish another divine realm that would solely belong to them. The council of the divine realm controlled by the 5 great god kings would never approve of that. Thus, a major conflict erupted. However, the dragon god refrained himself and chose to compromise. Not long after that, when he felt that he was well prepared, he led the divine beasts into starting a war. Tang Wulin and Yi Xinglan listened in disbelief as Gu continued with the story. If Gu's story was true, then where did the information regarding the divine realm from the Spirit Pagoda come from? It was inconceivable. It had been many years since any human had entered the divine realm. Hence, the divine realm was only a legend in Doluo continent, Star Luo continent, and Heaven Do continent. Nevertheless, Gu's vivid description seemed to have brought them into that world. The war lasted for a long time in the divine realm. It brought an unfortunate catastrophe to the divine realm. More than a third of the godhood humans were casualties during the war. It was the heaviest hit they suffered since the creation of the divine realm. But at the end, the divine beasts lost the war. The council of the divine realm was overly powerful. The dragon god was severed into 2 by the Xiao Luo god of the 5 great god kings. Gu suddenly stopped talking. She raised her head and looked toward Tang Wulin. Her gaze burned as she said, the dragon god was a high-level godhood, so he was immortal. Even the god kings were incapable of killing him. His origin force came from the chaos energy when he created the world. Even though he was split into 2, he did not die. It was possible for him to regenerate himself. The 2 portions of his body transformed into 2 giant dragons. One of the giant dragons had diamond-shaped golden scales over its body and inherited the dragon god's strength along with the original body's attack and defense. Thus was born the Golden Dragon King. Tang Wulin's body was trembling and his expression changed to one of shock. What? Gu continued with her story. The other portion transformed into the Silver Dragon King. The bloodline that your body possessed is the purest form of the Golden Dragon King bloodline. The Mountain Dragon King was the Dragon King's descendant. So, no matter how powerful the Mountain Dragon King is, it can't compare with your bloodline's lineage which was originally a part of the God King. Do you get it now? Tang Wulin understood Gu's elucidation. He had never expected that the bloodline in his body was actually that powerful. It was half of the dragon god, and it was totally unbelievable. So what happened after that? What happened to the Dragon King and the divine beasts in the divine realm? Yi Xinglan inquired. Gu's eyes looked peculiar. The godhood humans banished the divine beasts from the divine realm completely. No one knew of the whereabouts of the Golden Dragon King and the Silver Dragon King. Ever since then, there was no godhood beasts in the divine realm. Any beast that was qualified in ascending to the divine realm was suppressed in the world beneath and rendered incapable of subliming to a higher level. This is tyranny. Yi Xinglan frowned. Coldness seeped out of the corners of Gu's lips. This is the humans' natural instincts. Wasn't it the humans that created the ideology of dividing the world into us and them? Yi Xinglan looked at Gu in astonishment. You sounded like you're not human. Gu was stunned for a moment. Let's not talk about this anymore. I'm here to inform all of you about this myth in the ancient records. The bloodline in Tang Wulin's body should be the purest form of the Golden Dragon King bloodline. So, he's certainly of a higher level than the Mountain Dragon King. It's only that Tang Wulin have yet to master the control over his bloodline's strength at the moment. He should also have a similar effect when it comes to the suppression of attributes. Thus, if we were to consider anyone among us who stands a chance in defeating Long Yu's Mountain Dragon King martial soul, then it can only be Wulin. Hence, I agree with Yi Xinglan's suggestion to forge battle armors for Wulin at full speed to elevate his power. Tang Wulin looked at Gu, then he looked at Yi Xinglan again. His brows were knitted together while his expression looked peculiar. It felt as if something was revealed in his mind. Gu's words seemed to make him recall something distinctly, yet he could not grasp the thoughts of his memory. Yi Xinglan replied, "Very well, that's settled then. I'm leaving." Gu spoke as she gazed after the departing Yi Xinglan, "I'm leaving too." Tang Wulin suddenly raised his head and looked toward her. Gu, did you really find the information regarding the Golden Dragon King and the Mountain Dragon King in the Spirit Pagoda? What exactly do you do at home? Gu smiled indifferently. Have you forgotten? My martial soul is the seven-colored dragon. I didn't finish explaining when we were with Xinglan earlier. The Golden Dragon King inherited the Dragon God's strength and abilities, while the Silver Dragon King inherited the Dragon God's elemental control ability. We're from the seven-colored dragon's lineage and we possess a portion of the Silver Dragon King bloodline. You guessed right. The information isn't from the Spirit Pagoda, but it's our family secret. Tang Wulin squinted. His gaze was burning as he looked at her. So you're saying that you're nice to me because my bloodline is related to yours? Gu was stunned for a moment. Her expression turned cold. You can say that. Tang Wulin's gaze was frozen. Is that true? Gu's heart felt a sharp pain for no reason as she looked into his crystal-clear eyes. She nodded her head forcefully. Yes, it's true. I understand now. Tang Wulin mirrored her nod in all seriousness. Gu wished to ask, what have you understood? But she did not say anything as she walked to the door and pulled on it. Gu. Tang Wulin's voice echoed from her back. Gu stopped abruptly with her back facing Tang Wulin. What is it? Tang Wulin took a deep breath to calm his emotions. So, if you approached me at the beginning because of my bloodline, how about now? Do you still feel the same now? Gu's body stiffened slightly. Yes. She pulled open the door and walked out. Tang Wulin was in a daze as he looked blankly at the door and listened to the sound of it closing. It almost felt like a large door in his heart was closed as well. The Continental Young High-Ranking Soul Masters Elite competition continued. The competition became more exciting when it entered the round-robin stage. An increasing number of powerhouses were fighting against one another. There were more interesting fights as compared to the earlier matches. The confrontation match between Monster Academy and Shrek Academy became the public's favorite topic of conversation. A majority of the public neglected the age disparity between the two groups. They were only aware that Long Yu's power was incomparable even with Shrek Academy considered. Reality seemed to prove its point. Yi Xinglan from Shrek Academy chose to abandon the one-on-one and two-on-two matches. She only appeared later in the round-robin group match. There were only 3 people remaining in the one-on-one match from Shrek Academy. They were Tang Wulin, Xie Xie, and Yuan Yehui. There were only 2 contestants remaining from the initial 4 in the two-on-two match due to Yu Zhengyu, who was severely injured, and Yi Xinglan, who pulled out of the competition. Fortunately, the following round-robin matches were easygoing for them. They did not meet with any powerful opponents. Monster Academy, on the other hand, was represented by Dai Yuyang, Dai Yuna, and 2 other contestants in the one-on-one matches other than Long Yu. The 5 of them were advancing without a hitch in the round-robin matches. 10 days later, the round-robin matches ended. All the remaining contestants from Monster Academy and Shrek Academy entered the finals. The elimination matches were about to begin. Each and every victory and defeat would affect all the participating groups' final ranking. There was no turning back in the single elimination round. Everyone participating in the finals felt a tremendous stress. The individual matches would determine the final 64, while the two-on-two matches would determine the final 32. There would only be 16 teams that entered the final stage of the group matches. Finally, there would only be one champion at the end of the competition. The elimination round was different from the previous matches. The elimination round would not be carried out alternately, but the one-on-one matches would be carried out first to determine the champion. After that, the two-on-two matches would commence, followed by the final group matches. Such an arrangement was made because many of the powerful contestants were participating in a number of matches. Moreover, the arrangement was to ensure the competition was carried out fairly while allowing the contestants to display their ultimate powers in the competition. The final 64 matches were carried out by drawing lots. Each team's strongest contestant would become the top seed to be given the priority to draw lots in the first round. Tang Wulin was not top in his team because he withdrew from the match between him and Dai Yuyang. He had secured a place to compete later. His exploit made Star Luo Empire's denizens mock Shrek squad even more. However, Tang Wulin remained unencumbered by it. He was still as determined as ever. The night came. In the Grand Star Luo Hotel. The final stage of the competition begins tomorrow. The name list has already been published. Everyone must devote their effort to the competition. At the same time, you must also take care of your safety. Tang Wulin spoke to Yuan Yehui and Xie Xie. Ji Yu, Xu Xiaoyan, and Yu Zhengyu were in the room too. Meanwhile, Xu Lixi was assisting Yi Xinglan in producing the battle armors. Yu Zhengyu had already recovered. However, his fractures required a longer period to completely heal. He had missed the two-on-two match, but he could still compete in the final stage of the group match later on. Yu Zhengyu's emotion seemed to have changed after the battle with Long Yu. He was not depressed, but he appeared more profound. Tang Wulin was sitting and appeared calm with his essence retracted. He was exuding a rock-solid, lofty sensation. He was behaving more like a captain following his powers elevation. Xie Xie had seen the name list earlier. What a waste that we're not fighting against Monster Academy's students, otherwise I'll kill them. There were 2 other agility-type contestants participating in the one-on-one match from Monster Academy. Xie Xie had anticipated fighting them. Tang Wulin advised Yuan. Be careful tomorrow. Yuan Yehui had the worst luck in drawing lots for the first round of the finals. She was going to fight one of the agility-type soul masters from Monster Academy. Tang Wulin's opponent was considerably good but was just an ordinary soul master. Yuan Yehui answered, I've observed his fight before. I'll devote my every effort to fight him. The competition was coming to the final stage. They could not avoid meeting their contenders from Monster Academy, so it appeared that their moment of truth had finally arrived. Tang Wulin announced, I've made my observations earlier too. Let's discuss the ploy of our battle tactics. Everyone will benefit from a mutual discussion. Ji Yu stood on the side. She appeared a little distracted as she watched Tang Wulin help Yuan Yehui to analyze the opponent and strategize Yuan Yehui's battle tactics in all seriousness. Xu Xiaoyan nudged Ji Yu, who was standing by her side. Sister Yu, what's going on with you recently? You seem a little distracted these days. Did you quarrel with the captain? Everyone is busy cultivating, so I bet the both of you don't even have time to quarrel, no? Yu rolled her eyes. Pay attention. This is the time for us to retaliate against our powerful enemy since we share a common dislike for our enemy. Xu Xiaoyan giggled. Actually, we're already doing very well at our level. This competition is getting lopsided. The academy won't blame us if we lose, only our appraisal will be different. Have you not noticed that Elder Cai and Teacher Wu have not shown up at all? I think they're doing that intentionally to test us. Yu glanced at her. You have a clear understanding, don't you? Even so, we need to do our best to achieve victory. Xu Xiaoyan pouted her lips and replied, certainly. I'm only saying that everyone has changed. Jingyu has become introverted after he lost the match. He has been cultivating every day despite his injuries. He barely speaks. In fact, he is no longer a chatterbox. The captain has changed a lot too. He is calmer than before and puts everyone at ease, but aren't you worried for him? He's almost like a robot. I don't think that's healthy for him. Yu smiled faintly. You've underestimated him. Wulin has always been the kind of person who rebounds higher when the pressure is greater. This only makes him stronger. He is unlikely to be affected too much. Xu Xiaoyan shrugged. Anyhow, I prefer the captain who's more sentimental. However, there's nothing we can do currently. You ought to help him more. Yu nodded gently. Very well. It's settled then. Everyone go and have dinner. It was time for dinner when Tang Wulin was done helping Yuan and Yehui in assessing her opponent. Captain, how about you? Will you be joining us? Xu Xiaoyan could not help asking when she saw Tang Wulin picked up his jacket. I won't be joining you all today. I'm going out to do something. Having said that, he walked to the front. Xu Xiaoyan whispered to Yu. This is weird. Is there anything more important than missing his meal? Is the captain all right? Yu did not utter a word, but quietly followed behind him as he walked out. Tang Wulin hailed a Seoul taxi when he was outside the Grand Star Luo Hotel. Where would you like to go? The taxi driver asked. The Tang sect's headquarters, Tang Wulin answered. Okay. The taxi drove along the street unceremoniously. The sky was completely dark while the streets were brightly lit. Those who had spent an entire day bustling at work finally had time for themselves. Tang Wulin was a little spaced out as he looked out from the cab's window. He quite enjoyed this feeling. It was happiness not to be preoccupied with thoughts at times. At least, he was in such a state currently. The car slowed down because there were too many pedestrians and vehicles on the road. They managed to leave the hustle and bustle behind. The car began to pick up speed. Tang Wulin lowered his head to don his white warrior's mask, while he took out his cape simultaneously. The Tang sect's headquarters was unusually crowded. The people moved in an endless stream in front of the building. Tang Wulin got off the car and draped the cape on his back. He donned the hood and briskly walked into the building. The crowd entering the door looked toward him with an envious but admirable expression upon seeing his attire. Anyone who was acquainted with the Tang sect would understand what his attire represents. The Battle Soul Hall was the core of Tang sect's headquarters. It was also the one with the most core strength among the inner three halls, and no less important than the Worship Hall. Although the Worship Hall had the highest ranking among the inner three halls, almost every member of the Worship Hall was originally from the Battle Soul Hall. A white warrior represented its status, especially for those disciples of the world outside. Their envy at Tang Wulin's attire could not be concealed. There was no way one could move up the ranks by merely completing missions in the Battle Soul Hall. It could only be determined by the Battle Soul Hall itself. Thus, there was no other way to enter the Battle Soul Hall other than winning the favor of someone inside. In reality, the Battle Soul Hall had extremely strict criteria when it was choosing a warrior, screening the warrior's natural endowments, powers and moral character. Only then would it finally decide if the prospect would be allowed to join their ranks. Tang Wulin had become somewhat familiar with Star Luo City's Tang sect headquarters after his previous visit. At least it was not like his first time when he could not even recognize the place after he had entered. He arrived at the location for contribution point exchange. The scale of this place was greater than the Tang sect's headquarters in Shrek City. All sorts of words and numbers flashed across the big screens with a plethora of items for exchange on display. These items could be divided into broad categories including hard-to-find recordings of cultivation, soul devices, rare metals, mechas and much more. Tang Wulin started searching meticulously and found the location to exchange spirit items. He could actually choose to bid for the item in an auction shop, but the bidding process would take up too much time. Moreover, the price of items there was actually even more expensive than at the Tang sect. Given such difficulties, he felt that the Tang sect was the most dependable place to turn to. He clicked on the search box, then he checked the spirit item box and entered the keywords 10,000 year. The search began, and streams of data immediately started pulsing on the screen. Tang Wulin searched in all seriousness. There was so much data. The Star Luo Empire's Tang sect headquarters deserved its reputation. There was a wide variety of the 10,000-year spirit items. He had no choice but to add another keyword before he continued his search. 10,000-year dragon scale fruit. This time, there were far fewer results. It did not take long before a total of 11 search results appeared. The first result was 10,000-year dragon scale fruit, age 10,600 year, exchange rate 21,000 contribution points. The second result was 10,000-year dragon scale fruit, age 11,500 year, exchange rate 22,300 contribution points. The final result was 10,000-year dragon scale fruit, age 97,800 year, exchange rate 340,000 contribution points. Tang Wulin gulped when he read the final result. That was some good stuff. This was a dragon scale fruit that was almost 100,000 years old. He did not expect that the Tang sect's headquarters would have it. What a shame that it was clearly too expensive. He could not afford to exchange for it. His gaze returned to the first row of results once again. He gathered the Tang sect contribution points which he had accumulated, in addition to the contribution point reward he had received from the Battle Soul Hall's mission previously minus the mysterious jade hands he exchanged. He could exchange for the first 10,000-year dragon scale fruit with the remaining contribution points. That was it. It was better to have a smaller gain than none at all. Tang Wulin clicked the select button, then he used his Tang sect badge to verify his identity before paying with contribution points. The only thing he could do now was to wait. A 10,000-year ranked spirit item would take some time to be delivered. He decided that he should search for the 10,000-year sapphire root. This time, there were only 3 results for his search. The first result was 10,000-year sapphire root, age 13,900 years, exchange rate 43,500 contribution points. The second result was 10,000-year sapphire root, age 21,600 years, exchange rate 100,000 contribution points. The third result was 10,000-year sapphire root, age 54,000 years, exchange rate 315,000 contribution points. Besides the first result, these prices were all astronomical. Even the 40,000 contribution points for the first result had far exceeded anything Tang Wulin's would be able to afford right now. A forced smile emerged on his face following that. The 6th layer of the Golden Dragon King seal required 4 types of 10,000-year spirit item. The 10,000-year dragon scale fruit was one of them, the 10,000-year sapphire root as well. However, it was rather difficult for him to accumulate these spirit items based on his current financial capability right now. Tang Wulin thought about it, then he found a member of the Tang sect staff. Hello. I would like to inquire as to where I can sell some precious materials to our Tang sect. The staff member answered respectfully, Our honorable white warrior, will you please go to our assessment center and display your sale item for appraisal? The staff member there will inform you of the procedure. They immediately guided Tang Wulin to the direction of the assessment center. Tang Wulin was not in a rush to head there. He waited for his 10,000-year dragon scale fruit to be delivered, then he kept the dragon scale fruit before he headed towards the assessment center. The assessment center was an extremely spacious hall. Its inside even felt like an enormous warehouse. There were a lot of staff members bustling about in there. A warrior's superiority was revealed at this exact moment. A warrior was given priority in any part inside the Tang sect. Coincidentally, there was no other warrior queuing in front. There were specific Tang sect staffs who ushered Tang Wulin to the front as soon as he entered through the door. They inspected his warrior badge in order to verify his identity. "Please, how can I help you?" the staffing member asked with a smile on his face. Tang Wulin hesitated for a moment, but he still clenched his teeth and spoke. "I have a damaged black mecha that I wish to sell to the sect. Please help me to assess how much contribution point can I exchange it for." Black mecha? A sense of astonishment was revealed in the staff's eyes. There were many people selling items in the assessment center and also no lack of people performing the assessment, but there was rarely anyone selling mecha. At least the staff had never seen anyone did so. The black mecha was a hyper mecha preceded only by red-colored divine mecha. It was difficult to gauge its price as even its material was extremely expensive. If a mecha master was capable of producing his own black mecha, it was as precious as his life. Tang Wulin nodded and spoke. "May I?" "Of course you can." The staff had already regained his consciousness at present. He hastily spoke. "Please follow me this way." The staff guided Tang Wulin to a spacious spot. Tang Wulin raised his hand and released that black mecha he seized from the Green Skeleton Rebellion from his storage ring. In reality, the mecha was not considered too severely damaged. Only its pilot station was pierced by the Golden Dragon Claw. That aside, most of its system was still in perfect condition. If it was not due to the lack of condition in the Grand Star Luo Hotel, Tang Wulin had since attempted to restore it. The Tang Sect Assessment Center's staff was very professional. They soon invited a few mecha mechanic and started assessing the entire black mecha. The rest of the Tang sect disciples who were queuing and waiting were dumbstruck. They did not expect that someone was even selling black mecha. Moreover, the black mecha seemed to be in an extremely perfect condition. Even though every high-level mecha was customized according to a person's situation and it was not made suited to anybody else, but this type of human form mecha still had its commonality. One could modify it a little for his own use and it was absolutely many times easier than producing a brand new black mecha. This was a fine item that could not be simply measured with a price, yet someone was even selling it. A senior staff walked in front of Tang Wulin. "Do you truly wish to sell off this black mecha to the sect?" Tang Wulin gave a forced smile and nodded. "Yes, I am short of contribution points, otherwise I don't wish to sell it either." The senior nodded. "That's a pity. The mecha's quality is extremely impressive on its own. It's also preserved in a rather complete condition. There's a Green Skeleton Rebellion mark on it, so it should be your war trophy, right?" "Impressive." Tang Wulin answered, "I am not worthy of such compliments, only by chance. Can I know how much contribution points is this mecha worth?" The senior spoke. "Generally, a black mecha is at least worth 300,000 contribution points. A human form mecha is worth a little bit more. However, your mecha is originally damaged. On the other hand, it belongs to the Green Skeleton Rebellion, so it is fitted with a self-destruct system. It will be extremely troublesome to modify or remove the system. The cost of doing so is also very high and dangerous. At the same time, you also know that the items sold in the assessment center will be calculated at a reduced price. Hence, we can only give 100,000 contribution points for the black mecha. An additional 10% is given because of your white warrior's identity, so it's worth 101,000 contribution points. This is the highest price we can give you." Tang Wulin felt a searing pain upon hearing that. If he had a choice, he would not wish to sell this black mecha. However, he had no other choice now as he had to make some preparations beforehand. Of course, this mecha is meant for close-quarter battles, but it's not armed. If you can find its weapon, then we'll add on another 20,000 contribution points. Tang Wulin shook his head. There's no need. We'll just go with the price of 110,000 contribution points as you've mentioned. Tang Wulin could never give up the weapon. It was still useful to him. The transaction was quite simple. Soon, there was 110,000 contribution points added to Tang Wulin's sect card. This was the largest amount of contribution points he had accumulated since he joined the Tang sect. With the contribution points on hand, he returned to the exchange center. He bought the cheapest 10,000-year sapphire root without the slightest hesitation. Then, he continued his search and spent over 50,000 contribution points to exchange for another type of 10,000-year spirit item. He still lacked one item. It was a bottle of 10,000-year dragon-type soul beast's blood. At present, Tang Wulin's remaining contribution points was less than 20,000. He felt a little fortunate, so he was hoping that the 10,000-year dragon-type soul beast's blood was not too expensive. The first search result appeared. One bottle of 10,000-year 5 elements dragon blood, age 11,600 years, exchange rate 48,000 contribution points. The expression on Tang Wulin's face stiffened. He was short of 20,000 contribution points. Even though he still had some valuable items on him, those items were not for sale. The majority of the spirit forging and fuse forging metals he forged, he gave to his comrades. The remaining ones were of lower quality. Although he could still exchange it for some contribution points, it would not be enough to cover the shortfall. Fortunately, he still had some time. He could accept some blacksmith work to accumulate contribution points. At the level of spirit forging, every piece of spirit forging metal, especially those made of spirit alloys, were worth quite a lot of contribution points. Tang Wulin kept the 3 spirit items which he exchanged. Then he accepted a few more missions before he boarded a soul taxi to return to the hotel. Tang Wulin felt awful about having to part with his hard-earned contribution points. Hence, he felt some writhing pain and discomfort in his heart on his way back. A miser could never stand the pain of losing money. My black Mecca. Tang Wulin was sighing. If only he had adequate time to take it apart. Just the precious metal and core array were worth more than the contribution points he got for it. Anyhow, he had a change of heart when he discovered the Black Mecha was a device that could self-destruct. Once the device was triggered, there was a high possibility that everything would be destroyed. He felt much better when he thought of this. That's not right. A familiar voice echoed in Tang Wulin's mind at this moment. Old Tang. Tang Wulin closed his eyes and he could see Old Tang in his spiritual world. He could tell that Old Tang meant business, for he sensed the seriousness in his spiritual voice. Wulin, I can sense your eagerness. However, that's not right. The Golden Dragon King seal is not to be neglected. It was good that you were capable of passing the 5th layer seal's trial by depending on your body's strength. However, you should not seek quick success by immediately attempting another breakthrough. It may cost you your life, Old Tang spoke in a solemn tone. Tang Wulin was quiet. It was apparent that Old Tang had known of this. But I'm afraid that I can't defeat the opponent without going through with this. Old Tang, I've been trained with the body sect's cultivation method. My body is much tougher than before. I should be able to withstand the process of another breakthrough to the 6th layer seal. Look at how relaxed I was when I achieved the breakthrough to the 5th layer seal. Tang Wulin was trying his best to sound at ease. That's not how it works. Firstly, every seal of the Golden Dragon King that brings with it for you an elevation of the Golden Dragon King's essence places a tremendous stress on your body. Although it's capable of bringing you power, it'll threaten your life at the same time and take you one step closer to death. You'll need more accumulation and potent power. I must tell you that after you've achieved a breakthrough of the first 9 layers, the latter 9 layers will be a trip to hell. You ought to lengthen the time to achieve your breakthrough to the first 9 layers as much as you can, so you'll be better prepared. How can you reverse the process and speed up the breakthrough of your seal? This will bring you disaster, for sure. Tang Wulin was stunned for a moment. So, you're saying that it'll be even more difficult to achieve a breakthrough after the first 9 layers? Old Tang spoke again. The first 9 layers are just the Golden Dragon King bloodline's residual energy. It's not its origin strength, while the latter 9 layers are its purest form of origin strength. It's best for you to achieve the title Dolor rank cultivation base before you begin to break through to the latter 9 layers. Perhaps then, you'll have a better chance of surviving the process. You're only at 4 soul rings now and you've already broken through the 5th layer seal. It's already very fast. If I weren't in a deep sleep at the time, I'd never have allowed you to even break through the 5th layer seal so soon. You should let nature take its course and wait until the seal breaks by itself when your body has already achieved an adequate level of strength. Put aside the issue of whether you can survive the 6th layer now, even if you're capable of withstanding the process now that you possess the 6th layer's power. You'll still need to break through to the 7th layer within 3 years and complete the breakthrough of the following 2 layers before the age of 25. In short, you'll need to complete the first 9 breakthroughs by the age of 25. Then, you will have to face the terrifying trial that follows. Do you think that you can achieve the title Dolor rank cultivation base by the age of 25? Tang Wulin was speechless. It was almost impossible without a doubt. It was already unbelievable for a talented genius like Long Yu to achieve 6 soul rings at 20 years old. Of course, it was going beyond the impossible for him to achieve 9 soul rings by the age of 25. Unless he relies on some out-of-this-world heaven and earth treasures to accelerate the process, his foundation would be unstable. This is just a competition. What's more important? To win the competition or to lose your life? Do you not understand what it means to weigh the importance of something? Old Tang spoke sternly. Tang Wulin did not utter a word. All right, give up the idea. It's good that you've prepared these spirit items in advance. You've also gained some time from the earlier breakthrough. Still, you must maintain your current cultivation for another 2 to 3 years before you break through to the 6th layer. This way you can buy more time for yourself. According to your present cultivation rate, in addition to the awakening of the Blue-Silver Emperor, you can possibly achieve the title Dolor ranking by the age of 30. Thus, you must not complete the first 9 layers breakthrough before you achieve the title Dulu. Old Tang's voice ended. Tang Wulin could not help frowning hard when he opened his eyes once again. He had withstood the agony of breaking the seal more than once or twice. There were also a number of long-term negative consequences from breaking through by force. It seemed like he must not act recklessly. He would not have sold the Black Mecha if he had known earlier. Oh! What a huge loss! Tang Wulin did not feel good when he returned to the hotel. Forget it. I'll seize the time now to complete more blacksmith missions to earn some contribution points and repent later. Old Tang's words were filled with wisdom. It made Tang Wulin drop the idea to break through the 6th layer seal within a short period of time. He could only continue his cultivation now. The Continental Young High-Ranking Soul Masters Elite competition carried on until the final stage. The Colosseum was packed like sardines. It was difficult to purchase tickets for the competition. The scalpers were selling tickets inflated at 4 times the original price, but the tickets were still selling like hot cakes. After all, this was a grand event that only happened once every 3 years in Star Luo Empire. The atmosphere was buzzing with intensity. The elimination match was different from the previous matches. The Star Luo Colosseum would not be conducting multiple matches simultaneously during the elimination phase of the competition. There was only one competition stage remaining in the Colosseum, and it was much bigger than before. This video will end here. Like video and subscribe to my channel.